Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today we continue our course in Introduction to Literature. Over the last two lectures, we started to study part two, the second genre of literature, which is drama. So you have been introduced to a number of terminology, terms, and definitions. The types of drama, like tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, the elements of drama we have discussed so far, the plot, the characters, the setting, the themes, and other dramatic devices. And above all, the definition of drama and tragedy according to Aristotle, and what was the purpose for drama from the beginning, and the development of this genre of literature. So, the text which we are going to study as a kind of applying what we have learned so far is entitled Trifles. This is a one-act play, so it's a short play, not that long, written by an American female writer called Susan Glaspell. She was born in 1876 and she died in 1948. So here is a short or a brief introduction to the author, the dramatist. As you see here, she's one of the most important female voices in the 20th century theater. And after reading this play, you will discover that this female writer wrote about topics that were important for women. She was an advocate for women and for women to win their rights. She died in the 1940s, and most of her works were not published yet. But with the rise of feminism, this is a kind of movement, feminism, حركة النسوية, that appeared in the 20th century. There was an interest in her works. بدأ الاهتمام بأعمالها الأدبية, okay. Because she wants to, she gave voice, or she voiced causes or issues that are related to women. And she was an advocate of the rights of women. So this Trifles, this is one of her most famous, or her most famous play. And the story is so simple and easy, but it tells a lot about the condition of women at that time. So it hinged on the discoveries of two women whose understanding of the domestic sphere is overlooked and ignored by the men around them. So if you keep reading, you will know more about this writer. So this is just for you to give you a background about the author here. So we now come to the text itself. This is the title of the play, as you see, Trifles. And when you study any work of literature, whether it's a poem, whether it's a play, whether it's a novel, the title should not be overlooked by you. You should focus on the title, because most of the time, the title is symbolic. Okay? The title is symbolic. عنوان أي عمل أدبي في الأغلب العام بيكون رمزي. So you may understand things from the title. So now, when we think about the meaning of the word trifles, what's the meaning of the word trifles? So if you think about this meaning, if you don't know it, and you go up to look it up in the dictionary, you find that trifles is like things of little value, things of no value, things of superficial value, things that are not important. So the writer is going to tell us or present to us things something about things that are not important? Not necessarily. We need to read the whole play, um, have a critical thinking about it, a critical analysis of the play in order to understand the symbolic meaning of the title. So keep the title apart for the moment, but we'll come later to it to understand um, what is the meaning of this title. So here we have a list of characters that are going to be involved in the action and the dialogue of the play. So we have 3 men and 2 females or 2 women. So we have George Henderson, he's a county attorney. We have Henry Peters, he's a sheriff. We have Lewis Huff, he's a neighboring farmer. And we have Mrs. Peters. As you see, Mrs. Peters, she is the wife of Mr. Peters. Or Mrs. Peters is the wife of Henry Peters. And she is named after her husband's family name. She doesn't have a separate name for herself, her first name. She is known by the family name of her husband. This should be something that we should think about as well. Mrs. Hale, she must be the wife of Lewis Hale as well. So it's a brief list of characters. We don't have many characters here because, again, it's a one-act play, so we don't have much action. And then we have a description of the scene. And in this description, we may find out something about the setting. You remember the setting, the time and the place of the action of the play. So the scene here, we have the kitchen. So the kitchen is going to be the setting. The kitchen is the now abandoned farmhouse of John Wright. So it belonged to someone called John Wright. A gloomy kitchen. A gloomy kitchen. It's not bright, it's gloomy. The description of the place is very significant. The adjectives are used eloquently and selectively to express something specific about the place. So this is not just a kitchen. It's abandoned, deserted, so nobody is there. And it's gloomy. So from the beginning, you are introduced to the atmosphere of the play and left without having been put in order. It's also in a chaotic condition. It's in chaos. It's in disorder. Unwashed pans under the sink. A loaf of bread outside the bread box. A dish towel on the table. This is not a dish towel should be left. So what we have here is other signs of incompleted work. We have signs, we have marks of a kitchen that is not tidy, deserted, left behind. At the rear, the outer door opens and the sheriff comes in, followed by the county attorney and Hale. These are the characters we have been just introduced to. The sheriff and Hale are men in middle life. So they are not young, they are not old, they are in middle life. Maybe on the wrong side of the 40s. The county attorney is a young man. All are much bundled up and go at once to the stove. They are followed by the 2 women, followed by the 2 men. So we see men first, and they are followed by women. Okay. So who are these 2 women? One of them is the sheriff's wife. She came in first. She is a slight, wiry woman, a thin, nervous face. And then we have Mrs. Hale, the second woman. She's larger and would ordinarily be called more comfortable looking. But she is disturbed now and looks fearfully about as she enters. She is afraid of something. So they are approaching something that is not joyful or it's not a happy occasion. We know this from the description. The kitchen is gloomy, deserted, and she is fearful. She has a fearful look. The women have come in slowly and stand close together near the door. So this is a description left by who? This is left by the author herself, by Susan Glaspell. This author, this dramatist, left the scene. She wrote it. She left it for direction as a direction notes. But from here starts the dialogue. يبدأ الحوار من هنا. Okay. The county attorney. Now we see the characters talking on the stage. If this is performed, now they are starting to talk, and we listen to them and we watch them as audience. Rubbing his hands. So it's a sign of somebody who's going to start to do something or to do a work. And he said these words. This feels good. Come up to the fire, ladies. So he is asking them to come up to the fire. And he's not calling them by their names. He's just saying ladies. Mrs. Peters, after taking a step forward, I am not called. The sheriff, unbuttoning his overcoat and stepping away from the stove as if to make the beginning of official business. Now, Mr. Hale, before we move things about, you explain to Mr. Henderson just what you saw when you came here yesterday morning. So it seems like Mr. Hale discovered something. He watched something, and now he is asked by the sheriff to reveal it or to report it to the county attorney. The county attorney here starts gets involved in the dialogue. By the way, has anything been moved? Are things just as you left them yesterday? So from this and from the names of these characters, um, and by the way, the county attorney, we don't have a name for the character, but we have his job. It seems that this is like a crime scene. مشهد فيه جريمة حصلت, okay? So from the description and from the possessions of the characters and from the way they talk, this seems to be a crime scene. Bear with me. Right. The sheriff looking about, it's just the same. So the scene is the same. Nobody touched it. Nobody moved anything from its place. When it dropped below zero last night, I thought I'd better send Frank out this morning to make a fire for us. No use getting pneumonia with a big case on, but I told him not to touch anything except the stove. And you know Frank. So it's like he sent somebody just to keep the place warm because it's very cold. But it seems he didn't touch anything. Somebody should have been left here yesterday, the county attorney says. The sheriff? Oh, yesterday, when I had to send Frank to Morris Center for that man who went crazy. I want you to know I had my hands full yesterday. I knew you could get back from Omaha, but today, and as long as I went over everything here myself. So this uh, exchange between the county attorney and the sheriff uh, indicate that these people are investigating a crime here, checking a crime scene, and they are the ones who started the conversation. So the men here seems to be professional doing their jobs. County Attorney, well, Mr. Hale, tell just what happened when you came here yesterday morning. So Mr. Hale is the witness here, is the one who discovered the crime. So now we know the story bit by bit. The story is revealed to us. The action unfolds itself as the play goes on. So Mr. Hale says, Harry and I started to town with a load of potatoes. So it's like it's a countryside here, like a farm town. We came along the road from my place, and as I got here, I said, I'm going to see if I can't get John Wright to go in with me on a party telephone. I spoke to Wright about it once before, and he put me off, saying folks talk too much anyway, and all he asked was peace and quiet. I guess you know about how much he talked himself. But I thought maybe if I went to the house and talked about it before his wife, though I said to Harry that I didn't know as what his wife wanted made much difference to John. So Mr. Hale is the neighbor of Mr. John Wright, and he wanted him uh, to join a party telephone, and he decided to visit him at his home to convince him, or to make his wife, Mrs. Wright, convince him. And now he's making like digression. He's talking about something here, influence of his wife on him. So the county attorney told him, let's talk about that later, but focus on, tell me exactly what happened. Later, Mr. Hale, I do want to talk about uh, that, but tell now just what happened when you got to the house. So Hale continues the story. I didn't hear or see anything. I knocked at the door. I knocked at the door, and still it was all quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was past 8, and just give me a minute.